Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Usually when we talk about the modern professional landscape, there is this underlying assumption that we are all operating in a highly efficient, well-oiled machine.
Right, which is it's a myth, really.
Completely. Because the reality is that your time is heavily, relentlessly fragmented. You are likely juggling competing demands all day. And the current default of the modern workplace, it's actively fighting against deep, productive work.
It really is.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into a really comprehensive resource by Felix Römer from SmartKeys.org. It's titled Maker versus Manager Schedule. Optimize your calendar for your work style. And our mission here is to figure out how to actually navigate this mess.
Yeah, and it's a fight most people don't even realize they're losing. I mean, the data in this source paints a pretty stark and honestly somewhat alarming picture.
I was shocked by those numbers.
Right. If you look at the average knowledge worker today, they are getting less than 2.5 hours of actual productive work done in a day.
Less than 2.5 hours. Wow.
Yeah. And for managers, it is even worse. They're getting about 1.5 hours.
That is just, where does the rest of the time go?
It's being systematically drained. Managers are spending 35 to 50% of their week purely in meetings. That is literally half a career spent sitting in conference rooms or staring at video grids.
So what does this all mean? We are spending half our lives in meetings, barely producing any actual work, and yet, you feel completely exhausted by Friday afternoon.
Oh, totally drained.
How do we fix a system that is just this profoundly broken? Because it seems like we need to fundamentally change how we view our calendars in the first place.
We do, absolutely. And to understand how to fix that architecture, we first have to understand why it's broken. The core conflict happening in almost every office is that two completely different work rhythms are colliding in the exact same space.
Right, the whole maker versus manager concept.
Exactly. The source traces this back to Paul Graham's famous 2009 essay. He identified these two distinct schedules, the manager schedule and the maker schedule.
Let's actually pull those apart, because reading through the material, it kind of feels like they operate on completely different laws of physics.
They absolutely do. So the manager schedule is basically the default setting of the corporate world. It runs on hourly slots.
Or even half-hour slots sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And the primary goal there isn't to sit down and create something from scratch. It is fast coordination, unblocking your team, delegating tasks, making quick decisions.
Like Andrew Grove's philosophy, right?
Yes, the text echoes Andrew Grove perfectly here. He argued that fast, continuous coordination is how leaders move work forward. So a manager's day is naturally just a series of short, transactional interactions.
But then you have the maker schedule. And if you are, say, a software engineer or writer, a 30-minute slot is, it's virtually useless to you.
Precisely. The maker schedule requires long, multi-hour blocks. Think about creating something complex. You are basically loading a massive mental model into your working memory. You have to hold all these variables and creative ideas in your head simultaneously. You simply cannot do that in a 15-minute burst between Zoom calls. The source brings up Ray Ozzy's rule of thumb here. Serious work requires 4 clear hours.
A manager's calendar is like a game of Tetris. You're trying to efficiently pack blocks of time together. But a maker's cognitive process is like building a house of cards. If someone bumps the table for a 15-minute quick sync, the whole structure collapses and you have to start over.
That is such a perfect analogy, and the data backs up exactly how devastating that little bump to the table really is.
The distraction metric.
Yeah. It takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to regain your concentration after a single distraction.
Wait, really? 23 minutes?
Yep.
So if I get pinged on Slack for a quick question and answering it takes 2 minutes, I don't just lose 2 minutes. I've basically detonated a whole half hour of my day.
What's fascinating here is the psychological mechanism behind that delay, which researchers call attention residue.
Attention residue.
Right. When you pivot away from deep work to sit in a brief mid-morning meeting, your brain doesn't instantly switch tracks. A portion of your cognitive processing power subconsciously lingers on that meeting.
It's trying to close the open loops.
Exactly. And because of that attention residue, that one short slot can, as Paul Graham warned, blow a whole afternoon.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have these two distinct schedules, and the damage they do to each other is pretty clear. But what about the people who actually make this work?
Well, the source gives us some extreme real-world examples. On the maker side, you have Haruki Murakami.
The novelist, right?
Yeah. He wakes up at 4 a.m. to write for 5 or 6 hours uninterrupted just to protect his craft. Or Isaac Asimov, who had this relentless daily output, he proved that consistency beats intensity.
Right. But then on the manager side, you have someone like Gary Vaynerchuk.
Exactly. Gary V starts at 6 a.m., and his schedule is tightly sliced into these tiny, short meetings for rapid decision velocity.
Okay, but it's easy to say, just block out 5 hours when you're a famous novelist or a CEO. What about you, the listener? What if you have to write a complex proposal? A&D, manage a team of 5.
That is the defining dilemma for most of us. We have to blend the roles, and the source offers tactical compromises for this. Take Elon Musk.
How does he do it?
He separates 5-minute leadership and triage bursts from massive engineering blocks. He doesn't try to mix them.
So he's not playing Tetris and building the house of cards on the same table.
Exactly. Or look at Paul Graham's idea of office hours. You cluster your meetings late in the day so your morning focus remains pristine.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or Adam Grant. He uses batching. He operates in seasonal quarters. He'll spend one quarter doing consulting and pure management and the next quarter entirely on deep research.
I love that. But, moving from that high-level philosophy to a rainy Monday morning reality is tough. We need tools.
We do, and the text gets into some really practical frameworks. Instead of fighting fatigue, you should use the 90-20 protocol.
Right, the biological approach.
Yeah. A 90-minute focus block followed by a 20-minute recovery break. It aligns with our natural ultradian rhythms. And the data shows this yields a 23% higher job satisfaction.
Just by working with your body instead of against it.
Exactly.
And there are specific software tools from the Solopreneur Playbook that help enforce this, right? Like using apps, Freedom or Forest.
The Forest is great.
It mercilessly blocks distracting sites. You plant a virtual tree, and if you pick up your phone, the tree dies.
It creates just enough friction to stop you. And for the administrative side, the text suggests a lean admin stack. Toggle for time tracking, FreshBooks for finance, Trello for projects.
Systemize the management so it doesn't leak into maker time.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Yeah.
The guide makes a sharp point about avoiding pseudo breaks.
Oh, yes. This is crucial.
Like checking Slack or scrolling social media during that 20-minute break, that doesn't let the brain reset at all.
Not even slightly. Your brain is still processing information. You have to physically step away, go for a walk.
Stare at a wall if you have to.
Right. And tie it all together with a 10-minute nightly shutdown routine.
And ruthlessly prioritize for the next day.
Yes. Use the Eisenhower matrix. Identify the highest impact task and tackle it first thing in the morning.
So individual habits are great, but, and this is the big question, businesses run on teams. How does an entire organization stay ahead if everyone is on a different schedule?
That is the real challenge. You have to reduce friction at a corporate level. The text recommends publishing available for meetings, windows.
So people don't just send ad hoc calendar invites whenever they feel like it.
Exactly. And even better place meetings after lunch.
Just universally.
Whenever possible, yeah. It avoids bisecting the afternoon. If you drop a 30-minute meeting right in the middle of a maker's afternoon, you wreck their momentum.
Because of that attention residue we talked about.
Precisely. You have to establish new team norms. No agenda means no meeting.
I love that rule.
Demand pre-reads. Meetings should be for decisions, not status updates. And we need to normalize saying, not now propose a slot in our meeting window.
It sounds a bit aggressive at first, but it's actually so respectful of everyone's time.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, tracking the right metrics turns your schedule into a living strategy.
Right, instead of just vanity metrics like hours in the seat.
Exactly. Track deep work hours. Track decision velocity and interruption rates. Start playing office and start protecting actual output.
Imagine a company that rewards you for having fewer meetings. That's incredible.
It changes everything, and the practical takeaway from the source here is to treat your calendar like a contract. Start small. Try 1 to 2 week experiment.
Yes, to see how it feels.
Yeah. Try clustering all your meetings after lunch, or just protect one single 90-minute bout of deep work daily and measure the impact.
That is so actionable. There's a final thought I want to leave you with, the listener to chew on.
Go for it.
The source mentions that concentration is a trainable skill. It is not a fixed trait.
Like a muscle.
Exactly. So, in a business world where the default is constant distraction, what happens to the competitive advantage of an individual or a company that actually masters the skill of distraction-free work?
It's huge.
It essentially becomes an unbeatable superpower. You just outpace everyone else who is still stuck in their inbox.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We explicitly want to thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future deep dives. And we strongly encourage you to read Felix Römer's full article. There's so much more in there. You can find the link right there in the show notes. See you next time.